Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Hello, and welcome to Golden State Media Concepts Relationships Podcast. I'm your host, John Johnson, and I have entitled this podcast, They Done Overstayed, The Welcome. I was inspired to just reach into this particular topic because I was talking with a friend of mine, and he has some house guests that have been with him for quite a while. I'm talking in the 3-year range. These are individuals that he's known, and in fact, there were 2 different groups of individuals that showed up, and out of the goodness of his heart, because they had fallen on some difficult times, he kind of brought them into the household and gave them a place to stay. Well, he is now at that place where he hopes that they would leave. Now, when you're in this kind of situation, obviously your heart kind of tugs one way or the other. You figure people have come to your home, they're staying, and there must be some need, or else they pack up and leave. I know sometimes and being a good host, we make it as comfortable as we can for people. We don't want to make them feel any less or any worse than they already feel as having stayed in your place, whether it's a room, whether it's on the couch, sleeping on the floor, whatever it is. Obviously, some circumstances in life brought them to you, and out of the goodness of your heart, you wanted to help make their situation better. And I think that's great. I think we all have that in us. But when it reaches a place where the feeling is now, okay, now they're invading my space, they've been here an awful long time, and I guess we would have thought that this could have transitioned out. And at one time, there was a contribution to the household. You know, sometimes when you have, say, the rent's pretty high and you're struggling to make ends meet, you might be in between jobs or not able to make enough. You bring in roommates. You find some way to spread the load. That's what we've been doing that since the beginning of time. You know, sharing the workload. But as you are able to be more self-sustaining, or maybe in the case of some people, maybe you have a relationship that forms during this period of time, and you and that person are the primary couple here, and with your own subsistence, you're able to take care of yourself. But you still have this friend that is in your home. It really tugs at you because you wonder, what do you do? You know, homelessness is a big problem in this country. And you ask yourself, is this one of those kinds of situations where this person is homeless because they've fallen on hard times? Or is this one of those situations where I have made this so comfortable for these people, they have no interest in being more self-sufficient, more self-sustaining? And how do you transition from one side of being Mr. or Ms. Generous to the other part where you have to kind of help them get out of here? I think there's some things to consider. One of which is sometimes you're dealing with people who don't have that mindset that they have to contribute. Because in this situation that I'm describing, the house guests are doing very little to contribute to the situation, which might be surprising to some. You know, we kind of have those expectations that when people reach a certain age of maturity, that they just automatically know that, there's no free rides here. You got to do something. Clean the house, make a contribution for the utilities, bring food in, something. And these individuals just don't seem to get the hint. And not being one of those that wants to make people uncomfortable, how do you approach the subject? I mean, because we have gone well past the part of asking them to contribute. I mean, we want them out of the house. But I'm going to touch on that. One of the things that I think you should consider, if you have ever thought about having roommates or things like this, you have to have an understanding about the responsibilities in the house. Dishes, taking out the garbage, breakdown of the rent, the utilities, all of those things. You have to have those things spelled out, because if you don't, then it leads to confusion, and confusion generally leads to upset, misunderstandings. And it's not like we can't fix those things, but some people who just don't have it in terms of that level of maturity to operate that way, they're not just going to jump up and get smart about it. They're not going to be wise about that. You have to bring these things up, and especially you being the person who's the host. I also believe that when you do this sort of thing, you want to put a time limit on it. Don't just leave it open-ended. That's even if you don't intend to, say, have them move out for a year. Put a time limit on it, because you want to have them have the motivation to work towards something. You see, in this particular case, as I was just talking to my friend, that's something that never came up. Therefore, the guests have no motivation to do anything. They're treating it as if it's, they live there. Well, I guess technically they do, because they sleep there. But with the lack of contribution, it almost seems as if they treat it as if it's supposed to be free. Now, taking something like that on, you feel so imposed upon. It's really amazing that my friend, he hasn't just lost it and gone bat crazy on the people for not being more considerate. Now, they are someone, or they are individuals that he has known for a long time. So there's two sets of people here. Let me make sure that's clear, because you have one set of individuals who brought some little people with him, that is children, and this second person also brought a child with them. So I know in my own heart that when kids are involved, I'm going to be a lot more giving, because I don't want the hardship to land on the kids, and because stability for kids is so important. And anybody who's a social worker or psychologist, psychiatrist, even just a regular parent, you know how significant it is to have stability in a child's life, because when they grow up with the instability, then it affects how they process, how they think, what trust. All of these things are thrown into turmoil for them, and it just makes their life chaotic. So given that, so you as a listener, if you're thinking about, well, how did this situation come about? I think when you think about it, that is the reason that these things started out the way they did, because there were kids involved. And now that it has been this far along, how do you get these people out of your home? What's going to happen to the kids? Those are the thoughts that go into my mind. I'm thinking, wow, if I ask these people to leave, what's going to happen to the children? The adults, a lot of times we just really don't care about, because we figure they will find a way. But what's the impact of my decision or my desire for these people to leave? How's that going to affect the kids? Well, it may affect them a great deal. I think one of the ways out of this situation, at least for me, if I were in this, thinking about this, is I would be talking about social services for this individual to get them on track. I'd talk about jobs, because right now we have an economy that really allows for people to make a lot of different choices. And so you don't actually have to stay at somebody's house and not have some sort of income. You got to at least make the effort to contribute. And I'd be talking about that with them. Look, I'm looking at the time. I'm going to have to take a break right here, but I'll be right back and talk about this some more. Hello there, podcast listeners. This is John Johnson of the Golden State Media Concepts Relationships Podcast. I've been partnering with Care Of. Now, Care Of is a subscription service that delivers vitamins and supplements which are customized to your specific health needs. You take a short quiz and answer a few questions about your diet, your fitness, your lifestyle, your health goals, and Care Of will put together a personalized plan that's just for you. Now, summer's here, and making health and wellness is a priority again. And what Care Of does is it makes it easy to upgrade your health routine. Now, give yourself the support this season and do it with a boost. So whether you're looking for energy, better sleep, you want to be able to manage your stress, or something else to help you feel your healthiest, Care Of has the answers. Now, they have an online quiz which will let you know exactly what you need. Care Of's fun online quiz will ask you about your diet, your health goals, your lifestyle choices, and it generally takes about 5 minutes or so to find out. And it's scientifically backed using the vitamins and supplement recommendations. And your answers to the questions like how much sleep you're getting, are you looking for more energy, do you need something to help support your weight management, are you looking for healthier hair, skin, and nails? See, it really gets personalized. It's easy and convenient. Now, it can be really hard to know what vitamins or supplements you should be taking, but Care Of makes it easy to find out what you specifically need to be your healthiest. Now, if you're like me and you walk into a vitamin shop of some type, there's a dizzying array of choices, and I'm not the expert on this. But with Care Of's online quiz, it helps remove all of that in terms of the selection. You just answer their questions, and they have the recommendations for you. So what they wind up doing is that they will deliver daily vitamin and supplement packs, and they're all customized to your recommendations. So you only take what you really need. Now, depending upon your personalized Care Of plan, you'll get a daily vitamin pack or a protein powder, and it'll be sent right to your door. It's customized, and the packets even say your name on them. Now, you can also modify your subscription at any time when your needs or preferences change. So here are some of the differences. Now, they make sure what you're putting into your body comes from some of the best backed sources, and it's honest guidance, and it's transparent. Plus, it's all available to you on their website. Now, Care Of also offers protein powders, which are available in individual packs for on the go and in tubs. They're all personalized to your fitness goals and dietary preferences. And the individually wrapped vitamin packets are made from compostable plant-based film, and that meets the same safety standards. So your vitamins are not only kept fresh, but they're also better for the environment. Now, vegan and vegetarian supplement options are available to match your dietary needs and to ensure that you're getting the nutrients you need for those specific diets. Now, I've been taking Care Of vitamins for a while, and which is why I'm sharing with you that I partnered with them. The online quiz was the easiest. Like I said, if I walk into a vitamin store with all of the choices on the shelf, I would be confused. Now, sometimes they have individuals who can help you target things, but I could wind up buying hundreds of dollars worth of vitamins and possibly not get the results that I'm looking for. But like I said, Care Of takes care of that. And with the vitamin packs, because they've already combined all of the vitamins in the packets for you, you don't have to take them out of the bottles and then put them in your daily pill thing that you use to keep them separated. It's already done for you. They come to you in the mail. It's that easy. So here is something that I want to share with you. If you go to takecareof.com, one more time, that's takecareof.com, and in the promo code, enter relationship. That is going to get you 20% off your first order. Yes, 20%. Remember, go to takecareof.com, and in the promo code, you enter relationship. So you get 20% off. So you get all of this. You get a healthy routine. They have the online quiz. It's easy and convenient, and this is all part of the Care Of difference. So with that, you go to takecareof.com, enter relationship in the promo code. You get 20% off. I think it's going to make a difference for you. Give it a try.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Hello, and we're back. Look, where I left off, I was talking about the social services and trying to get your friend jump-started to help them get him out of the place. Because when you are faced with the burden of being a host to someone that doesn't want to leave, then obviously it's going to tug at you because you've done something out of the goodness of your heart. You got somebody that's overstaying their welcome, and you're trying to get them out. And you obviously don't want to see anything bad happen to them. So how do we do this? Well, you take this on and you start making suggestions, although, in a very polite way. There's no reason, I think, at this point to want to get angry with them. And I don't believe this is you have to evict them kind of thing where you have the sheriff show up and say, hey, I have these squatters that have been here. And, anyway, there might be some legal things that since they've been there for such a length of time, maybe they do get to stay. I don't know the legal aspects of that, but I do wonder from time to time why it is hard to get people out of your house. But, it depends. If you're an owner, then I guess you can say who stays. And if you're a renter, I guess they have to be on the lease. And if they're not on the lease, I guess that can kind of get them out. But back to the point of, like I said, my concern has always been for the kids. What are the kids going to go through? So, like I said, there's social services. You can talk to a social worker, ask them some recommendations about what to do in these cases. The other thing is maybe they have other family members that they might take an interest in the situation, and I've seen that. Sometimes that's an alternative. And again, going forward, if this is you, think about it. If anybody that's going to come and stay with you, you might definitely do the interview thing because you want to know, hey, do you have family? How come you can't stay with them? That sort of thing. Because this is all in hindsight. So if this is something that's coming forward or coming down the road for you, then you obviously want to be in this conversation. But if they're already in their place, like I said, how do we get them out? Well, we keep moving this direction. We keep having this kind of conversation. We have to bring them to the table and discuss with them, look, the situation. This wasn't intended to be a permanent solution to your situation. This was just something that was supposed to be temporary. And you want to know, well, what are you doing about changing? Because we would like to have our place back, or I like to have my place back. And I think you have to really sit people down and have that conversation again, respectfully, because although you may be angry on the inside, sometimes people just don't have that awareness of what the expectations are. And they might even have that look of surprise on their face when you sit down and tell them this. And if this is the first time, then yeah. But if this is like the second or third time, you definitely want to do follow-ups. And if you're feeling a bit angry on the inside, that's probably because there's a lot of guilt about having to be in this situation. And I know for myself that when I'm in a situation where I feel like I'm forced to confront people, I have to remind myself not to be angry. Why? Because in the side of the confrontation part, I never like it, and I have to steel myself for it, meaning get myself ready for it, and I never know what's going to come at me, so I come out like gangbusters, or at least I did at one time. Now I think about it, I'm much more able to talk to people in a calm, rational way and present the facts that, hey, this isn't about whether I like you or don't like you, but this is something that's supposed to be temporary. And, I want to see you move along in life. That's how you help people improve. That's how you help them move along. And by doing that, you're doing them a favor by helping you understand what reality is. Look, I'm going to take another break, and I'll be right back.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Travel Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
And we're back. When I left off, I was talking about the reality check of having that conversation with someone, and maybe the light goes on, maybe it doesn't. Let's hope that it does. And being in the position of having to do that, say maybe being an adult or being a parent type conversation with someone who's an adult, I know that makes a lot of us very uncomfortable, and I realize that would make me uncomfortable. But I've been in that situation where I've had to have those real talks with people so that they get it, so they get the idea of what's really happening here. And in the case of They Done Overstayed the Welcome, what you're trying to do is actually help them move along, give you back your space, which is rightfully yours, and you've shared it long enough. And in doing so, hopefully you haven't hardened your heart as to wanting to be helpful and generous again. But it's just that this particular situation has got you so bugged that you're forced to do something about it. And I'm here to support that. I believe in doing it with love. And this is about love. This isn't about being angry and putting people out on the streets and that sort of thing. You say things with love, tact, care, concern. You may be boiling on the inside, and that may be what it takes to get you going. And let's talk about that. That part is probably the sense of the injustice that you feel about the situation, feeling put upon. So if you're feeling angry about this, it's because of the injustice that you feel has been done to you, the feeling that you've been used, and all of those kinds of things that happen. I've been there. And it's kind of hard sometimes to change direction when you feel like you've actually been an enabler to people in these situations, because you feel like, okay, well, hopefully they'll just, no, they're never gonna. They're not going to get tired of the situation because you keep fixing it. You keep being the Band-Aid. You keep appropriating all of the stuff. So you do have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, what did I do to contribute to this? And what do I have to change about myself so that I don't put myself in these kinds of situations again? So that's sort of self-talk. I mean, and these are the kinds of situations that we run into that give us an opportunity to see ourselves for who we are. Yeah, the generous part is great, and you want to keep that. but you also want to learn how to have boundaries, how to have limits. And maybe that's something that needs to be examined for you, is boundaries. Maybe you don't have very good boundaries. And that being the case, maybe you've been, used a lot in your life. And this is just one more example of, because you didn't have boundaries, the situation just sort of got out of hand. Now, and as you re-examine that part, I think it becomes much easier for you to have the conversation, because then when you present this scenario to the house guest, then you really don't tell them about, they're a bad person. You probably won't say anything that's inauthentic. You will really be representing, says, hey, I brought this situation in with the idea that I was wanting to be a helpful person. And it has gone well beyond me feeling like I'm helping, and I feel like I'm being an enabler. So if you think about this as your script for having this conversation, and if it fits for you, you think about those and you talk about it from that standpoint, because it doesn't make them at fault and it doesn't make them to blame. Because here's what a lot of people do in these cases is they look at this person who is staying as an intruder. Remember, at first they were a guest. You invited them in. But now that they've, quote unquote, overstayed their welcome, now you treat them like they're an intruder. And that's not the way you want to do this. You can invest your love and your time and your effort into helping people, but also use it as an opportunity to learn something about yourself, your love, your generosity. And that should be celebrated as well. And when you learn to put boundaries on these things, then you're not exhausted by being helpful. You are enlightened, you're encouraged, you're filled up, and you learn that by giving really does make you feel good on the inside. See, if you feel like you're giving and it is just tearing you down, then that's not the where you spiritually want to be in terms of giving. Something else is going on, and you're going to have to dig deep and find out what that is. Because when you're sharing love, when you're giving of yourself to someone else, that's supposed to make you feel better. That's your higher self contributing to the greater good. And that's always a better example of how to be. That's how you want to be remembered. That's the legacy you leave. All of those are good things. It's the kind of gift that keeps on giving, especially when you're that example. And I can remember a number of times when individuals who have been in a rough space, someone had been kind and generous to them for a period of time to help somebody get on their feet. And then, remember, like I say, it's the gift that keeps on giving, paying it forward. They wind up doing the same thing. And they learn through humility when you are down and out that there are people who will contribute to your well-being. But they also want you to invest in your well-being. You see, they want you to be invested, because if you're not, then why should they? So as you think about they done overstayed the welcome and having a conversation, think about how this situation came about. It was your love and your generosity that came into being, and you wanted to extend that love to these individuals, these people, these children, the circumstance. And since this has gone on the way it has, it does require that you do a recall. You recall the circumstance, the situation, and be real with the people. Be kind, courteous, but be real and explain to them, hey, apparently we didn't, or I didn't put in some boundaries, some things that we need, some targets we need to look at, because we need to move this thing along, because I want to help you be a better person. Because think about it, they can't be dependent upon you the rest of their life. I mean, how is that going to work for you? So I know that these kinds of things are very uncomfortable to start. I've given you a few tips on how to get into the conversation. And I think first you really have to do the self-examination. You really have to be honest about who you are. Know that it was out of generosity, and bring that as part of the conversation. Know that there's probably parts of you that are enabling, and all of those are okay, because all of these are learning experiences. These are what help us grow to be loving, to be compassionate, and learning boundaries, not just for other people, but for yourself, so that you can maintain your self-sufficiency. Because if you can't take care of yourself, you're really not in a good place to take care of someone else. I mean, that's kind of at the core of this as well. Now, I'm going to wrap it up here, but I hope this has helped you recognize something about yourself. And if you have a situation that this sort of fits, it seems like you have people that are there that have overstayed their welcome, sort of gone beyond some reasonable boundaries, then use this as a template on how to correct that situation. Again, I'm John Johnson. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Relationships Podcast. Thank you for listening.